stuff on them. But her garage literally looks like a stock room.
Yeah, like a food shelter.
Right.
That's
She's
awesome.
got just piles of diapers, and it's all organized too. There's
Yeah.
there's toilet paper. There's I'm trying to think. There's diapers. There's um, I cannot think of it. Paper towel rolls. There
There
we
we
go.
go.
And then there's bottles of some stuff in the back. I mean,
Yeah. Soap and
this is
it's
phenomenal.
it's good to know that there's good people out there. Like
Right.
this is a really awesome story, and like you wouldn't see this like on the national news.
Yeah, and that's my problem. Is this is not something that you would ever see on really any news. I don't even think it'd be
Mm,
make the local news half the time.
yeah.
And these are things that you need to see. A lot of people are like, yeah, we need to know about the hurricane. That's cool, and we know about the effects. But this isn't some. This is an effect that you need to know. This is something that you should see because there are people like this. And like she said, um, she actually said, you know what? I can put my coupon skills to good use. Um, and she said, um, of the baby supplies coupons she normally would pass up. She said, I don't have babies, so I don't. I usually throw them away. But I can buy this stuff for them and put it to good use. So yeah, this is just fantastic. I really like how she decided to just
To give.
well to
Yeah.
give, but it was like, she had that urge to help,
Yeah.
and then she's like, oh, how am I gonna do it? You know, and she's like, well, I do. And this is probably how it went. She's probably like,
Mhm.
I love the coupon, or she may not have even thought about that. She may have been looking at coupons
Mhm.
and watching the news while she was couponing one day, and found all these ones for baby diapers. She's like, you know what? I think I can use these.
Yeah.
But yeah, her receipt is like longer than a sash. It was almost like I don't know. I feel like it took up a whole roll
Yeah.
of like the receipt paper.
Man,
Um,
like, would you like this to be emailed? No, no, no. Paper copy, please. They're like, there goes one of our rolls.
yeah, there goes another entire roll.
Man, I'm so shocked. Like, I mean, with Hurricane Harvey and Hurricane Irma, there's so many natural disasters and like big ones that we haven't seen before, which is
Right.
always piquing the question of. But I mean, that's awesome that there's a lot of people that want to go back and help out. I mean, truly, I was I wanted to go down there and help out, but also at the same time, I'm a 17-year-old kid about to start school again, so I kind of got to stay up here.
You're
But
like, I'm in school. I really can't go anywhere.
I think it would be cool to be on the search and rescue teams, though. I think that would just be awesome to go and try to help out in any way possible. But
Right. Yeah, that certainly would be pretty cool.
and
Um,
this journalism piece is absolutely amazing. Props to the writer on this because I mean they did a great job with telling it, obviously. And that's the one thing I love about journalism is that you find these stories and you find these great people. Yes, there's like bad news to report, and that gets more like notice in the news. But really telling this awesome, amazing story is just something I live for when it comes to journalism because it's something that I like reading compared to so and so got murdered on the block of this and that.
that's
And
exactly right. That's exactly and I think I told you this a little bit before the show, but this is the reason that I started the show. I wanted it to be happy news. I purposely don't watch a lot of the news because to me it's depressing. I mean, like
Mhm.
you said, it's this person got shot, that person got shot, and it's like honestly, I've taken a forensics class. That's cool,
Mhm.
but, and it sucks for some people, but I don't want to hear about it every day. I don't want to hear about it every news segment,
Mhm.
and 90% of the time when I was at my grandma's and I was watching the news, I wanted to wait for that little fluff piece at the end. That's what I was looking
Yeah.
forward to. Care less about anything else they talked about. You know, um, there is one that I don't mind is 60 Minutes,
Yeah.
and that's usually because they've got some pretty good specials that they do. Um, but other than that, there's really not like you remember when that flight went missing, and they kept saying the same thing over and over and over and over and over
Yeah.
again, like the first time.
Yeah.
And then like I think it was like CNN took and made like a hologram. They made like a 2-hour special, and they were literally saying the same thing that everybody else said that
Yeah.
they were saying. And I'm like, dude, you could put those resources to better use than
Yeah.
this.
Like you could use this time span for something that I don't know would pique people to just do something. I mean, even going back to this woman in Texas, it all starts with an idea, to implement a
Yes.
huge impact and change. And I think, I learned that at the age of 15 doing an Eagle Scout project, affecting the culture around us. And it really just starts with an idea and your drive to complete it and finish it. And, the effect can be immensely helpful to whoever you're trying to benefit in the end of the
Well,
day.
yeah. I mean, my project, not trying to brag, but the project that I did was literally to make use of another Eagle Scout project
Hmm.
because we had this beautiful outdoor chapel. It was made out of wood. It looked really nice, and we never used it. And we'd used it like once or twice. And I'd ask my pastor, I'm like, why don't we ever use that? It was an Eagle Scout project. It was really nice. And he's like, well, he said we have a lot of older ladies and gentlemen in this church that I'm too afraid that they're gonna trip on some of the big routes going from there to there.
Mm.
And I mean, it's not a far span
Yeah.
by any means. It's just right out behind the church. Um, but there were big enough roots that, and there's some people who pick up their feet they almost still scoot their feet, but they try to pick them up.
Yeah.
Um, and so he's like, hint, hint. And so I started looking at it, and so the way my church is set up is the front is actually like the back.
Yeah. I
So
remember that.
you go around to the back, and that's the front doors of our church. And then if you go in those doors and go straight back, there's the sanctuary, and there's a couple rooms off to the side. Then if you turn to your left, right when you walk in, there's our fellowship hall where we do all of our stuff. Well, off the fellowship hall, there's three doors. There's two going off the side of the church, and one going out the back or the front,
Mm.
depending on how you look at it. Well, for this sake, we'll say the back, the piece facing the road, and one of the two side doors on the side, there was a path that went from the back parking lot up to the first door. And I'm like, well, why'd they only go that far? So I took it, and I got the idea to take it from that door, extend it to the other door, go past the corner, and then when it hit the corner, it would split off and go to that door that was on the back of the church,
Mm.
um, and then straight out to the outdoor chapel. And I did that not because, like, I mean, yeah, it was a little bit for me because I wanted to use the outdoor chapel, but it was more for, another Eagle Scout project so it can be utilized for the people who, have always said, oh, we'd love to do, to do that.
Mm.
And like you said, at a young age, you figured out that just one idea
Yeah.
could be so helpful. We've used that outdoor chapel several times. I actually used it this past summer twice.
Wow.
There's a wedding on it right before. One of the guys, there was a guy that actually was a big contributor of my Eagle Scout project because his plan was he was going to marry his, like he was going to get married
Mm.
on that path, and so
Oh,
it was
wow.
very in his best interest that I get it done.
Mm.
So he was a big contributor. He brought out just a cooler of popping water. I mean,
Mm.
and he donated quite a bit of money, but he did everything he could. He brought out popping water. He lended a hand a little bit. He just did some of the little things that I didn't have time to do because I was as a good leader, and you could attribute or you can kind of follow me on this. As to be a good leader, you have to kind of lead by example. So,
Mm.
I was down in the trenches. I was digging,
Exactly.
and I was, I was trying to do everything, but I was also trying to manage, because you had the younger scouts, and so you had to give them something to do.
Mm.
And we had some cement slabs, actually some rather big ones. And we relocated those with the Bobcat, most of them, but there was one we wanted to put um, kind of going out to a playground we had because between the path and the playground there was like one little section,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
this block pretty much covered that section. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I had them dig it out. I had one of my friends just kind of watch over them, make sure they were doing what they were supposed to. Um, and then I helped him pick it up. But it was like, I was over there. I was helping with the main path. I was, communicating with our assistant scoutmaster that was running the Bobcat. I'd have to sign for, when the fill sand came in, I had to sign for that. My grandma was she's like, hey, when do you want to do pizza? So I was making all these decisions,
Yeah.
but I also made time to be, down in the trenches, actually, doing some digging, putting some sand, moving cement, and doing everything that I had to do and leading everybody else by my example. Um, so the small idea, and it was a big project. A lot of people are
Oh
like,
yeah. It
don't
was
ever do that
huge.
project. Like, don't ever do that big of a project again. But to me, it was, it was a lot of work. but there was a lot of good that came out of it.
Exactly.
And that's kind of this story. It compares to a lot because this is very helpful to a lot of people,
Yeah.
and my project was helpful to a lot of people, and she was doing this selflessly. I
Yeah.
mean, I was trying to achieve something, but I was doing the project itself was selfless.
Exactly.
I was doing it for everybody else.
A lot of those selfless acts, they once you get a lot of those going, you can really create a huge impact on the culture around you. There was an image I saw, and I actually put this in the presentation that I just did for one of our trainings that we did in venturing, and it was the difference between a boss and a leader. And a boss is like this guy that's standing on top of this pedestal thing that these three people are dragging, and
Hmm.
they're dragging it in a certain direction. And then on the bottom it said, "This is a leader," and it had that same guy in front of them leading them. So that
Right.
definitely speaks to working in the trenches, and it's always good to have people, those little portions, whether it be getting pizza or getting drinks and pops and things like that, taken care of. Just having those people there to utilize at the end of the day.
Well,
So
and like I said, I mean, my grandma she did a lot for the project. Um, it was one of those where I had her, kind of keep the books for me, and she's like, okay, we got this much. We need to get pizza, but we'd after church because we'd ask for cans after church every Sunday. We'd take this giant, two or three big giant bags of cans down to Kroger,
mm,
and we'd stand there for almost an hour just putting cans into the machines.
wow.
And that made a majority of our money. But I also came up with an idea, and it was again, it was my pastor was like, there's a lot of thirsty people out there. You know, my brain went off, and I'm like, let's go get some water. So I went home and I got a big cooler. We went to the store and we got a whole bunch of pop and water, and we iced it all down, and we sat because my church for Back to the Bricks does a swap meet.
Uh-huh.
So they have spots available, and they'll have vendors that come in and sell car parts.
Huh.
Or you can swap things with them. Like if they're looking for something, you could swap that, or you can pay money for whatever pieces that they've got of certain
Yeah.
cars. And I just sat out there and I opened my grandma's trunk. I had the cooler in there, and I put up a little tent, a
Huh.
little table, and I sat there, and a lot of people bought water.
Yeah.
And then after that kind of shut down, I took my little cooler. Went up to the high school. My friend's mom and my mom set up a table with one cooler, and said it had a sign, it said Eagle Scout Project fundraiser, and they sold pop sitting there. My buddy and I continued to walk up and down Saginaw Street, through all the crowd selling pop, and so that was one of my fundraisers, and it took a lot of money, to do that, and this probably took quite a bit of money,
Oh, definitely.
um,
I mean,
but
hopefully she saved as much as she could with
I think
extreme
she did. I mean,
couponing. Yeah, I
like
hope.
my girlfriend and I, we had to buy a new kennel today for my German Shepherd because he decided he wanted to just bust out of his kennel and break the entire front of the kennel off, which it's kind of been in the process of doing for a while. Because if you look at his claw, his paws, his fingers are longer,
Mm-hmm.
and they've got a little divot in them, like they kind of
Huh.
curve like that. So he almost can just put his paws over it and like over the
And kind of
through
grip
the
it.
things and just grip it and just shake it.
Wow.
And by doing it, because he's a strong dog,
Yeah.
I,
Oh
I
no,
mean,
he hugged me earlier when I came in. I felt it. I felt that.
like my girlfriend, when we got back from getting the kennel, she opened up the door. She's like, "Come here," and I said, "What?" She's like, "The cat's out." Because if the cat's out, you've got to have a strong arm, or else you're gonna fly down, with him.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to grab him out of the car because he'd go flying after the cat. Um, but getting back to my point is, we went and because we utilized the internet,
Mm-hmm.
and the fact that it was on sale on our website and not in the store, we saved more than we spent.
Wow.
I mean, we did the kennel was like usually over $100 on in store. On their website, it was like $50, 50, $60.
Whoa.
And then we saved some money on some of the other stuff. So we spent more, or we spent less than we saved. We saved like $100, $120,
Wow.
and we spent like 50 to 60.
Huh.
So we got a new kennel.
Good deal.
We got a um. So I think it's things like that because you were talking earlier about how you weren't really sure what extreme coupon like how it worked.
Yeah.
You said a lot of people were getting sometimes got paid for shopping.
Yeah.
Ebates was the one I was thinking about earlier. I think
Ah.